Welcome to REvangelical, Rethinking Christian Living, a podcast that aims to encourage, challenge, and equip Christians in their daily walk with Christ. Join us as we discuss scripture, theology, the issues of the day, and uplifting stories from folks just like you. Here's your host, Danny Forshee.
Well, hello and welcome to our REvangelical podcast ministry. My name is Danny Forshee. I serve as the president of the Danny Forshee Evangelistic Association, so delighted to have you join in with us today. Here at DFEA, our vision is to share messages of hope from God's Word. I'm so honored and blessed to be able to speak to you and encourage you today. Here at DFEA, we also enjoy equipping the people of God, the church, to live on mission, to live an abundant life provided by Jesus, a life where you and I love God with all of our heart, soul, and mind, and love our neighbors as ourselves. Also where we share the gospel with everybody we meet. Oh, may God use me today to be a blessing to you. That's a pretty cool prayer, isn't it? For all of us. God bless me so that I can be a blessing to someone else. And I do pray this episode becomes a conduit through which God pours out encouragement and strength and a deeper desire to walk with God, that He pours that through me to you. So God bless you. Thank you for tuning us in today. These are some challenging days, are they not? Woo. The number has escalated now to 33 million Americans who have filed for unemployment. We're following the story out of Georgia where a black man was gunned down by two men. What looks to be a senseless murder. Oh, our nation needs Jesus. What kind of life and country and culture could we have if we truly believed the Lord and followed the great commandment to love God and to love one another? I truly hope to be a blessing during these days of pandemic. There's so many difficult moments in our world, so many unknowns. Tension continues to rise as people become desperate. Currently preaching a series of messages entitled Getting Through Hard Times. And you can listen to these live at 10 a.m. on Monday and Wednesday mornings, or you can go to my website, dfea.com. You can listen to them there at your convenience. They're free. You can download them. And again, the title is Getting Through Hard Times. And we're dealing with some hard times, unprecedented times, really. I mean, this pandemic has caused chaos not only in our land, but all the lands of the world, a global pandemic, really. That's what a pandemic is. It's more than an epidemic, it spreads. And so I hope you're okay. And I just hope that you can take a few moments of time for you and just listen to this message that I believe God has given me. It's a message on perseverance. And we're continuing our top 10 principles for effective living. I'm choosing one word and building a whole episode around that one word. My aim is to teach on that particular word so that you walk away with a central idea in mind, a concept that will bless you and benefit you. And today's concept, today's principle, today's lesson is on perseverance. We could name this episode of REvangelical Persevering Through a Pandemic, for that is what many people are doing. As I said earlier, some hard times and some difficult stories coming out of this time in which we live. People are losing their jobs. Families are in crisis. Many have gotten sick or know of someone who has contracted this virus. Here at our church at Great Hills in Austin, Texas, we have about 100 people volunteering to call 2,000 church members. It's a big task, and I'm so grateful that so many of our people are helping us out to do this. I have my 20 names, and I was calling my people this week, and I spoke with a lady who and her family just recently joined our church, and she told me, well, my husband has contracted the virus. He is in his 30s. He's quarantined upstairs in our house, and we have two small children. I was like, what? Yeah, that's her story. Well, that same day, a couple of church members went shopping for them and dropped off some items, put it at their door, and then scheduled another day later in the week to go back and go grocery shopping for them. And I called the man who has the COVID-19, was able to speak with him, was able to pray with him. So like many of you, you have been adversely affected by this virus. And there's still a lot of unknowns, like how long the social or physical distancing will take place. When can other businesses open? Some of you ladies are like, when am I going to get my hair done, my nails done? No, I'm telling you, I need a man bun for all this hair I've got on my head. Goodness. Oh, more importantly, when will a vaccine be available? When will jobs be restored? It's a tough time, no doubt. And so we're hoping that we can be a blessing to you. You know, we do have a couple of options before us as we face this pandemic and the associated fallout. We can panic, or we can persevere. We can react with fear, or we can respond with faith. We can get up, or we can give in. And I want to be one of those that says, you can do it. You can persevere and persist through this difficult time. You know, speaking of perseverance, there's a lot in the Bible about persevering people. And I have a quote later on in the episode of REvangelical I think is going to really encourage you. Just share some examples of biblical, perseverance. But let me look at a couple of verses with you. First of all, Romans 8:25 says, "But if we hope for what we do not see, we eagerly wait for it with perseverance." Ephesians 6:18 says, "Praying always with all prayer and supplication in the Spirit, being watchful to this end with all," here's our word, "perseverance and supplication for all the saints." I'll give you a couple more. James 5:11, "Indeed, we count them blessed who endure. You have heard of the perseverance of Job and seen the end intended by the Lord, that the Lord is very compassionate and merciful." And by the way, we often associate Job with what? With patience. But here in this text, James links Job with perseverance. We're going to talk about that a little bit later on. Revelation 2:3 says, "And you have persevered and have patience." There's the correlation again. "And you have persevered and have patience and have labored for my name's sake and have not become weary." Revelation 3:10 is our last verse I want to look at with you. "Because you have kept my command and to persevere, I also will keep you from the hour of trial, which shall come upon the whole world to test those who dwell on the earth." Again, notice the correlation, the connection between patience and perseverance. They go hand in hand. The lady that patiently waits with optimism and hope is the one who perseveres through her setbacks and obstacles. The one who gives up easily and does not persist is usually the impatient one. Mike Todd has a great story of perseverance. It's so encouraging. I heard it recently on one of Carey Nieuwhof's podcasts where he interviewed Pastor Mike Todd. Fascinating how this pastor, African-American pastor, sharp, talented, gifted, faithful to God, started as a pastor. He had never pastored before. I think he was in his 20s, small church running a couple of hundred people. And now today, that church in Tulsa, Oklahoma, Transformation Church, what a story. They've gone from a couple of hundred to 4,500 people. They purchased an arena there in Tulsa, Oklahoma. They paid for it now. They don't have any debt. It's interesting that somebody posted about his sermon on relationship goals, and it went viral. I mean, one lady, she said, "Oh, this is really good message on relationships." And she posted, I think, on her Instagram, and bam, overnight, they went from a few hundred Instagram followers, Pastor Mike did, to thousands. He said he got the idea for the series while he was on a sabbatical. He pointed out that the root word of recreation is recreate. To persevere or persist does not mean you have to never take breaks. We must have the wisdom, slow down, unplug, and recharge. And that's where I am in my life. I'm in my third decade of ministry. I've never taken a sabbatical. I've been the pastor here at Great Hills. I love our people, love our church. I've not taken a sabbatical in 10 years, but I know I need to. And I say this up front in a message on perseverance because, and I'll talk more about it in a moment, but we often think of perseverance, persistence, push through at breakneck speed, never take a break. No. Wisdom is the better part of valor, and there are times where we need just to unplug and recharge. And that's what I'm about to do in a few weeks. We're going to continue our podcast ministry and my devotional ministry, but I want to take some time off take some of my sabbatic. Well, you may object and say, but you got to push through, and that's what perseverance is all about, man. Come on. And again, this is where wisdom's just the better part of valor, and it goes hand in hand with rest. The traffic light is red. What do? You stop. When it's green, you go. When it's yellow, one friend of mine said, that just means, hey, I'm coming. Seriously, we need a pace of rhythm in our lives that allows us the energy to persist when it's time. Well, I looked through my library of books that Andy Andrews has written, and by the way, I've got a bunch of them, and I found the one that I referenced a few weeks back when he wrote the one word in the cover of the book that he signed for me. The title of the book is The Traveler's Gift. It's a New York Times bestseller. I highly encourage you to get it, to read it. It's fascinating. Well, in his copy that he gave me, after I heard him speak at a conference, he wrote these words. He said, to Danny, persist! Exclamation point, Andy Andrews. The subtitle of his book, The Traveler's Gift, reads, 7 Decisions That Determine Personal Success. That's what the subtitle of the book reads, 7 Decisions That Determine Personal Success. It's a great read. And the 7th decision that he speaks to, and you guessed it, it's on this whole topic of persistence. In this book, he talks about the indefatigable Joshua Chamberlain as he fought valiantly at the Battle of Gettysburg, July of 1863. Remember this? In the Battle of the American Civil War, which, by the way, I found out a couple of weeks ago, had 750,000 casualties. Wow. This story of Chamberlain reminds me that there are times when the situation calls for just outright conspicuous, courageous perseverance. This is the time when you persist, even at the risk of your life, for a greater cause and a greater purpose. Chamberlain and his troops had barely withstood 5 charges by General Pickett and his Confederate troops. They would not be able to withstand another. And Chamberlain knew it. It looked like the only thing that he and his Union army could possibly do is retreat. Each soldier only had 2 bullets left, and the Confederates were now gathering at the bottom of the hill for the attack. And I've been to Gettysburg, by the way. And I've seen this actual battleground, and it is somber, it is chilling, and you can just picture it in your mind's eye with the Union troops atop the hill, and below the hill, the Confederates are gathering the momentum, and they're about to charge one more time, and they would win. If they just charged, there's no doubt they would overtake the Union Army. The Union Army is greatly outnumbered. This was a time when they were facing defeat after defeat, but Chamberlain did the unthinkable. They said, sir, give the command, retreat, right? He said, bayonets. Wow, bayonets. Some thought he had lost his mind, but they obeyed the orders, and they charged down the hill. And the Southern Army, the Confederates, thought, well, surely the Union Army has gotten reinforcements, and so we better retreat. And they ended up losing the battle, and the result was a key factor in saving the Union. Now, perseverance. What do you think of when you hear that word? In my mind, I got to be honest, I think of a Chamberlain. I think of bayonets. I think, hey, let's go. Let's charge the hill. Let's do what we got to do. Let's press on and push through. And most of the time, that's what we need to do. But I do want to sprinkle in this thought with you, though. Please keep in mind, there are times that you have to rest. You have to recharge. Now, when you're facing the enemy, that's not the time to rest. You hopefully have already rested and you're ready to move forward. Before your final exam, the night before, it's not a good time just to rest. It's time to study. So from the biblical perspective and my own life, and from reading multiple portraits of perseverance and persistence, I'm going to just share with you my perspective. And so I've got five lessons, if you will, on perseverance. And I hope these encourage you. I hope you can take these to heart and put them into practice. Because I think all of us really want to increase in perseverance. We want to have a more persevering, persistent mindset or attitude, especially during hard times, really, especially during this pandemic. Man, if you're like me, you just want to go, whoo, I've had enough of this thing, but that's not the time. It's not the time to sit back. We have to press forward. So the first thing I want to encourage you to do, with just some lessons on perseverance from, again, my own heart, my own life, my own reading. And number one is this: look up to God. Look up to God and ask Him to help you embrace a spirit of perseverance. When you pray and ask, and it is in accordance with God's will, you will receive it. Jesus said in Mark 11:24, "Therefore I say to you, whatever things you ask when you pray, believe that you receive them and you will have them." Pray. Ask the Lord even now for the ability to persist when the situation calls for it. Pray for wisdom to know when to rest and to retreat, and then when to march forward and not give in and not give up. So number one, seriously, oftentimes we give 18 ways to do something, and number 18, we say, oh yeah, and pray. By the way, you need to pray. Well, how about let's put it at number one. Let's look up to God and ask Him for a persevering spirit. Number two, lean forward. Yeah. Lean in the long direction of perseverance. What I mean is, let this be your default. Always be leaning toward not acquiescence or capitulating or surrender or giving up, but no, let your lean be forward toward persevering. In fact, just develop this mindset that you are going to persevere no matter what. Bill Gates, the founder of Microsoft, said most people overestimate what they can do in 1 year and underestimate what they can do in 10 years. I like that. The spoils from the war go to those who keep going when they know the right thing to do is persevere. But the temptation is always there to stop. When you attempt anything worthwhile, be it marriage, raising kids, being faithful to God in your life, taking on a new adventure or a new project, you know it's the right thing to do, rest assured, you will be tempted to lean back, repose, and just say, well, nah, maybe not today. I don't underestimate what you can do over the long haul of leaning into perseverance. In those moments of temptation, even if it's only a little, do this, lean into it, meaning keep going. I imagine Principal Verdi Montgomery questioned his sanity at some point because of the commitment that he made. I'm sure it felt like the right thing to do at the time, but surely he must have had second thoughts. You see, Principal Montgomery is a high school principal in Wiley, Texas, a town northeast of Dallas, about 50,000 people. Like other high school seniors, these seniors in Wiley, they will not have a formal high school graduation. They've missed their prom and, they've missed out on a lot, maybe even signing, the yearbooks. And so this Principal Montgomery said, you know what? I know they can't come to me. What if I just go to them? And this is what he did. He personally drove 800 miles. Took him 12 days, 80 hours, but he did it. He personally visited all 612 graduating seniors. Wow. Principal Montgomery said, quote, "The most valuable gift any of us can give anyone that isn't replaceable is time. Where one spends one's time says a lot about what they value," end of quote. Can you imagine the response those 612 seniors had when they got a personal visit from their principal? He wasn't there to reprimand them. He wasn't angry at them. He was just there, hey, just want you to know I'm for you, proud of you, way to go, you graduated. So lean forward in the direction of perseverance, especially in the winds of adversity. Don't underestimate what you can do over the long haul. All right, number 3, listen to the wisdom of those who are what I call portraits of perseverance. Listen to the wisdom of those who portray perseverance, who live it out, who embody it. As I was preparing for this episode of REvangelical, and by the way, I write manuscripts for everything, sermons, podcasts, devotions. I usually write a manuscript for everything, but I just took a moment. I just looked over my library and book after book of biographies. And I thought, well, what do all of these great individuals have in common? You know what they have in common? They never quit. Though most of them are dead, their examples speak so powerfully to anyone who will take the time and read them. For example, I'm currently reading the biography of Ulysses S. Grant, the 18th President of the United States from 1869 to 1877. Ron Chernow has written a fabulous book. Listen, it's over 1,000 pages. It's not for the faint of heart, and I'm leaning into perseverance. And I'm not quitting, and really it's easy for me because I love it. I love reading this guy's life. And by the way, it's not big print. It's kind of small print. Really had no idea who Grant was. Ulysses struggled greatly in his life. He failed often in his work, in his business. He really was on the edge of despair and just had a hard time providing for his family, went from job to job, and really alcohol just got the best of him. His drinking cost him dearly. He was kicked out of the army, and he left California, and he moved back to the Midwest and tried to work and provide for his family, and man, it just wasn't happening for him until the war. Yep, the Civil War brought out the genius that was in him. But one thing he did, and I admire him for it, through every failure, through every difficulty, and through every battle, he kept persisting. He just would not give up. He was outrageously persistent. Well, and we know the rest of the story, right? The leader of the Army of Virginia went on to become the president again of the United States. What about the persevering spirit of Corrie ten Boom, who, along with her amazing family, provided safety for the Jewish people until that fateful day that they were caught? Corrie escaped, or she lived through the Holocaust, though Betsy, her sister, did not, and her family did not. When the Allied armies came in and liberated them from German captivity, she got out. And she went on to live a remarkable, courageous life, a life full of conviction. This lady didn't quit, and she didn't live in bitterness for the remainder of her life. I mean, she lived in just so much courage. I tell you what, I don't know what people like that do to you, but man, people like that inspire me. So let the wisdom of those who are portraits of perseverance, let them inspire you. You too can become one. You can become a portrait of perseverance as you implement persistence in your own life and you're motivated and encouraged and challenged by the lives of the great men and women who've gone before you. I have a couple more principles I'll share with you. Number 4, learn. Learn the difference in persistence and obstinance. The former is praiseworthy, the latter is not. If you persist, for example, nonstop with no consideration for your health, your family, well, it's not worth it. I hope you've heard me by now interject along the way these little snippets about rest. There comes a time when you have to rest. You got to slow down or get a higher, better perspective. In order to create, sometimes you have to recreation. In order to have recreation, you got to rest. And then when you rest, you begin to recreate and create new things. You know, I've spoken in my own life about discipline, and God's given me this desire to persevere and to be persistent. But I tell you, I've had to learn that that wisdom is indeed the better part of valor. I learned this anew in my Ironman race last year. Keep thinking about that race, by the way. And maybe if my back heals up and my knee gets better, who knows? I may try to do another one. I know I'm kind of crazy, but man, what a ride. Speaking of ride, in the bike portion of the race, man, I started out so well, had my best swim. I went 18 miles on the bike in the first hour, and at mile 26, it happened. Isn't life like that, by the way? Cruising along and bam, it happens. So at mile 26, my right gear control just quit working. And as a result, I had no access to my higher gears. Now, if you pedal and you're a cyclist, you know that to get up those high hills, you need those higher gears. Well, I'm hard-headed. I pedaled for 6 miles, and then I realized, I had a moment. And I remember thinking to myself, okay, I can persist. I can keep going, and I'm probably not going to make it, or I can stop. And I'm telling you, that was the hardest thing I've ever done in a race, was to stop. Again, you got to know the difference between persistence and boneheadedness and obstinance. So I stopped and I waited for help. And finally, this lady came who was helping in the race, and she didn't give me much encouragement. She said, "Sir, with your bike like it is, you probably ought to withdraw." I was like, "Withdraw?" Now that's where my persistence kicked in. I was like, "No, what do you mean withdraw? Surely there's some help down the road." And she said, "Well, you can try." She says, "But by the way, the next rest area," really it's not a rest area, it's a place where you get water and Gatorade, and you can just grab it and keep riding. And she said, "But it's miles down the road." And I thought, really? I thought, well, I just got to go for it. So I started pedaling. Little did I know how mistaken that lady was. Right around the corner, I couldn't see it, but it was the next area to get refreshment. So I pulled over there. And I said, "Is anybody here that can help me?" Then I fell. By the way, you don't want to fall off your bike. It's very painful. I fell. People helped me. I got back up. It was just not going well. And they said, "Well, Paul over there, he could help." I said, "Please, who is Paul? Get over here, Paul. Help me." And Paul's just a jack of all trades. He comes over and he goes, "Well," he said, "let me take a look at this thing." And he kind of dabbled with my cable and my gear shift there. And he goes, "Well," he says, "this is what I can do for you. I can lock this thing in. It's better than what you got, but it's not perfect." I said, "I'll take it." And sure enough, it allowed me to have some access to higher gears. No, not all the access I needed, but I said, "I'll take it." And then that's where my persistence kicked in. I kept going. And you know what I did? I finished. But I learned a big lesson. Know the difference between perseverance and obstinance. Well, good luck with that, because I'm still learning it too. One more little story about my race. Toward the end, now we're talking about mile 24 of 26 in the marathon. I wanted to run so bad, but I couldn't. I literally thought, if I keep running, I'm going to pass out. And you're thinking, "And you want to do this again? You've lost your mind." I know. But anyhow, I'm running and I stop and I say, okay, I have a choice. I can persist and keep running and pass out and not finish, or I can slow down and walk it in. And by the way, they only give you 17 hours to finish. And I knew that if I pass out on the side of the road, I'm not going to make it. So I walked and walked until a few hundred yards, and I could see the finish line, and I began to run again, and woohoo, finished 15 hours and 30 minutes. Perseverance. It's served me well in my life. But if you're anything like me, you got to keep reminding yourself that there is a difference between perseverance and persistence and just boneheaded obstinance. The last one I have for you today in this episode of REvangelical, and thank you for listening, by the way. We're coming up on 30 minutes, and I'm trying to wrap this up. But number 5 is lift others on their journey as they seek to persevere and finish their races. Lift up others on their journey as they persevere. I talked to my good friend Ken Coley. He's a professor out in North Carolina, sharp, great guy, an author. And he said, out of the blue, he just encouraged me. He says, "Hey, I want to encourage you to keep writing. Your devotionals mean so much to me, and they're blessing me. I know you must get tired sometimes of writing them, but keep on writing, man." You know what I'm calling Ken Coley? I'm calling Dr. Coley a 6-monther. He said, "Excuse me? Is that a compliment?" "Yep, a 6-monther. Mark Twain said, I can get by for 6 months on one compliment." Are you a 6-monther? Are you encouraging people on their path to persevere on their journey? Hey, God can use your setbacks to help you and others press to the next level. It's a bit cliche-ish, I know, but I like it. Your setback just might be preparing you for your comeback. And your comeback will no doubt provide the spark, the motivation that another person will need to succeed. Well, I've got some more information here, and I promised you I'd share this quote, so let me share it with you from Jim Dennison. And I leaned on him and I lean on him, by the way. He's a portrait of perseverance to me, and I enjoy reading him every day, and he helped me with this podcast through his influence of writing. Let me find this quote. Here it is. He said, Moses was a fugitive felon before leading his people out of Egyptian slavery. David's moral failures with Bathsheba are well known, as are Peter's denials of his Lord and Paul's persecution of Christians. One reason God so often uses people who have struggled is that they better understand people who struggle. I love that. So through your struggle, through your setbacks, keep persevering because you never know who you're going to be able to help. Well, those are my 5 L's for perseverance. I hope they help you. Hope they encourage you. God bless you on your journey of passion and perseverance. Thanks again for listening to REvangelical. I hope and pray it's an encouragement to you. You know, life is crazy. It seems strange and uncertain at the moment. But you know something? Through all of life's ups and downs, God promises to fill us with hope. And that hope is not a fragile thing. It's powerful. It's alive. And it fills your heart and keeps you strong through every circumstance. That's the hope people need right now. So I want to encourage you. Go to my website. Go to dfea.com and give. Donate to our ministry to share that living, powerful hope with the world in these troubled times. Again, that's dfea.com. Thank you for your generosity. Thank you for just being you, for persevering through hard times. God bless you. Let me pray for you. Father, we thank you for our time together. You're awesome, God. We love you. We need you. Instill within us, Lord, the power to persevere, but also, Lord, the wisdom when to rest. Lord, for whoever's struggling, God, help them. Lord, if they need to push through and persevere, let them do it. God, help them. If they need to rest, God, help them. Give them the wisdom they need. Lord, we love you. We trust you. We give you praise. God, strengthen us, we pray. In Jesus' name, amen.
Thanks for listening to REvangelical. We hope today's episode has edified and enhanced your walk with God. Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast on iTunes, like us on Facebook, and follow us on Twitter. We'll see you next week.
Like the sound of REvangelical? Our audio production is provided by Podsworth Media. Check them out at podsworth.com.